as I mentioned before, my name is Damien, and I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity to be connecting with you guys today. I have a long-standing history with My Blueprint. I was part of the team for about 7 years or so. Big part of what I love to do is help students make more informed decisions, and still doing that today. I'm just doing it in a little bit of a different capacity with an organization called TKS. It's the Knowledge Society, and doing some really cool stuff. So if you're a student who's watching this right now, you're really driven, you're really ambitious, you're the kind of kid that we work with. You know, we work with students to help expose them to different emerging technologies, different breakthroughs in science, in order to understand how to actually solve big problems in the world to hopefully make this place a much better place for all of us moving forward. So this is just kind of a small sample of some of the different technologies and areas of science that our students get exposed to, that they build really cool projects in. They get to explore. I like to think of it like a buffet to figure out what's really for them, to find what they're passionate about, what they want to go deep on. They find that thing, they focus on it, and they've actually created, they get to create a project with that technology or that science, which is one of the really unique differentiators that happens within this program, along with working with some really forward-thinking industries, organizations, and companies that are shaping the world we live in today. And it's the reason in this program that they're actually building and working with industry leaders that a lot of our students actually win scholarships as well. So just a couple of weeks ago, I got to find out one of the students that I worked with really closely last year. Her name is Richa. She's a finalist for this year's Lauren Scholarship. So like Janet, we're all cheering, we're all rooting for her internally. They're going to find out, I think, at the end of March or the end of February what the final number is. But even to make it to this level is really impressive. And, you know, I was one of the people who wrote a reference letter for her, and I got to talk about all the cool projects that she's worked on in TKS and beyond. And it's a real differentiator for these students when they get to create real projects in the world to show kind of what they can do moving forward. And this is another student, not necessarily a scholarship per se. I guess it's a full ride scholarship, so you can still call it that. But that came into my inbox on Slack 2 days ago. I thought it was super relevant to share with you guys as well. And a lot of our students do end up going to top-ranked universities. I'm going to share a recording with Joy and the My Blueprint team, who are going to follow up with all the adults who are getting the emails from this. But we hosted a webinar a couple of days ago with some of our TKS alumni who are at some of these top-ranked universities, so Stanford, Carnegie Mellon, Johns Hopkins, and they were kind of talking about what they did to get where they are now to a group of high school students. It was a really wonderful recording. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put it in the chat for you guys as well, because I know there's some students who don't have access to the emails that we're sending out. So that one is in the chat now for you guys. And if you love webinars, there's one more we're hosting. This one's coming up this Thursday, actually, that we would love all of you guys to attend. It's called the Future Career Series. So there's a conversation about the future of tech and science, the future of corporate innovation, the future of entrepreneurship. And there's some really interesting people that are coming to this to talk to high school students about what you need to know if you want to work in a type of organization that's going to change the world we live in. It's free. All you got to do is register, pick the sessions you want to learn more about. And even if you can't make it, get the recording. So lots of cool stuff happening between TKS and My Blueprint, two organizations that want to do a really good job of helping young people prepare their students for the future and make more informed decisions about their future. Speaking of which, Gurpreet from Scotiabank is here to talk to you a little bit about some of the really cool opportunities that Scotiabank has put together in collaboration with My Blueprint to help you guys make more informed decisions about your futures.
Thank you, Damien, and hello, everyone. Nice to meet everyone here. So my name is Gurpreet Sander. I'm manager of student strategy at Scotiabank. So I'm here today to go over the scholarship Scotiabank provides in collaboration with My Blueprint and the support we offer to set up students for financial success. So this is in line with Scotiabank's commitment to empowering students by creating financial tools and resources to support your transition from high school to post-secondary. I'm just going to share a quick fact here. So cost of tuition has gone up by 26% over the past 10 years. And this is one of the biggest challenges students face, which is funding their careers. So this is why we're proud to continue our sponsorship contest and support students with funding their careers. And I'm happy to announce we're offering a total scholarship amount of $60,000 this year, which is divided amongst 16 different scholarships. So these scholarships are open to all grade 12 students across Canada who will be pursuing their post-secondary education. And it gives you the chance to win one of 16 scholarships worth $3,750. So the scholarships are divided amongst 4 different streams, and with 4 scholarships, each stream worth up to $3,750. First one being the financial wellness scholarship, which helps anyone who's sort of interested in the financial aspect of their careers. The second one is a STEM scholarship for anyone who shows interest in the field of STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The third stream that we offer scholarships in is in line with Scotiabank's diversity and inclusion goal to empower applicants to reach their full potential. So this is available to Indigenous people, people of color, people with disabilities, and people part of the LGBTQ plus community. And lastly, but not least, the Future Woman Leader Scholarship, which is also 4 scholarships worth of $3,750. This is also in line with Scotiabank's commitment to diversity and inclusion and improve the representation of female leaders. This is open to anyone who identifies as a female, non-binary, or gender non-conforming. So the portal is now open and it's open until the end of April. So I encourage everyone to visit the website and also apply for these scholarships, but also explore the various resources and tools that are provided on the website. And as you transition to post-secondary, you're going to have a ton of questions regarding your financial well-being, and the website covers a broad range of topics and resources. And on that, I wish you all the best on your educational journey, and back to Damien.
Thank you, Gurpreet, and thank you, Scotiabank, for making it a lot easier for many young Canadians to achieve their dreams of attending post-secondary. It means a lot. Right? Speaking of really cool stuff that's happening today, now we're going to talk to Roxanne. Roxanne, I hear you got a little contest you want to tell us about.
Yes, certainly. So one of the things that we all know is it is a challenge to find out where to get these great scholarships. So I'm happy that Janet is here with us today. But also some of the other questions that students will have is, how can I make my application stand out above the crowd? And how can I paint a true picture of my accomplishments and aspirations? So we thought that a very unique and effective way for you to do that is to use our Education Planet digital portfolio tool. And that will definitely allow you to stand above the crowd. But with our contest, we thought you should be awarded for the amazing work that you do. So our contest is open for grades 11 to 12, and it allows you to go through the steps of creating your very unique and customized digital portfolio that will showcase your growth as a student, your accomplishments, what's wonderful about what you've done throughout your time in high school, and your potential for those scholarship applications. So educators, I encourage you to enter into this contest, submit applications. There are some amazing prizes, a $100 gift card for you as the educator, and of course, great prizes as well for students, or a $1,000 school prize. So it's excellent. The contest runs from now, it's live all the way to February 17th. And as I said, it's only open for grades 11 to 12, but certainly all students can start making those scholarships portfolios from early. So educators, please, as soon as this webinar ends, hop over and enter into the contest. Thank you, Damien.
I love that. I love that for so many reasons, mostly because oftentimes these prizes are always for the students, but now there's something for the educators and the adults in the classroom as well. But more so because I've been pushing portfolios for years. For those of you who know me, I think it's one of the best ways to kind of showcase what's unique and special about you, to show, not tell. And both of the students that I talked about in TKS who are the one who's a finalist for Loran and the one who got a full ride, they both used a portfolio during the application process because I know I helped them out with it. So with that, there's lots of scholarships out there. There's lots of money out there. Finding it, not always the easiest. And applying for things, you can work smarter, not harder. Janet from mycampusGPS, she's going to talk to us for the next little bit about all the ways that you can find and win more scholarship money. So without further ado, Janet, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to let you introduce yourself and just take it away.
Okay, thanks, Damien. First of all, what I want to do is thank Scotiabank, because without generous funders like that, we wouldn't be here today, would we? So that's the first thing. I'm going to introduce myself in just a moment, but I think, you know, I've got a lot of information to present to you today. I'm going to break the first rule of presentations and give you too much information. So let's get started. Okay, so I like to start my presentations with good news for you, and this is your good news today. Grade 12 is your best opportunity to win scholarships ever in your lifetime. Okay, so what I mean by that is that, you know, when you get into post-secondary, there will still be opportunities for scholarships, but the majority of them are earmarked for students who are in grade 12 and who will be entering post-secondary for the first time. That's where the largest ones are as well. So, you know, by no means am I saying that stop looking when you get into post-secondary, but really grade 12 is going to be your best opportunity for scholarships. So I call it kind of a golden window of opportunity that you have available to you. If you're in grade 12, then that opportunity is now. But I saw some students, and I'm really happy to see that in grade 10 and grade 11 who are here today. And this information is going to be very important for you too. And I'm so glad that you're here to prepare for that opportunity that is coming up for you in grade 12. So this is me. I'm Janet McDonald. Excuse me. I was an assistant registrar of admissions at Dalhousie University and an admissions officer at UBC in Vancouver. And I started this work with my business, mycampusGPS, because over the years of working with thousands of students and parents, I found out that many of them were missing out on scholarships simply, you know, because they didn't know much about them. They didn't know how to find them. They didn't know how to write the applications. And what was even worse was that they didn't know that they qualified for scholarships when they actually did qualify. So they were missing out completely. So what I do really simply is just I help Canadian high school students with how to find and win scholarships. Okay, so this is what we're going to cover here today. First of all, just some foundational information. What are scholarships, bursaries, and awards? What are the different kinds of scholarships that are available? And then I've chosen 5 things that I think it's important that you know about scholarships. Now, there are more things to know, but these are the main things that you should know. And we're going to talk about not just kind of how to do things, but how to do things in the best way to, you know, maximize the time that you have available. Everybody's busy, everybody's got a lot on their plate. So how can we do this in the best way possible? And hopefully through this information today, I'm going to inspire you to take some action. I love answering questions. So there's a Q&A. If you'd like to pop your questions into the Q&A, then I'd be happy to answer those at the end. Okay, so let's get going. What are scholarships and what are some of the different kinds that are available? A scholarship really simply is just education funding offered by an organization. That might be a university or a college, or it might be another kind of organization, like a bank, like Scotiabank. I use the word award and scholarship interchangeably, so that's why I have the word award in brackets there. When I say award, I mean an award that comes with money attached to it. The thing that identifies a scholarship is that scholarships are based on merit, and that means you have to earn it in some way. Now, you know, with some of them, you're probably thinking, oh, it must be grades. Grades are required for some scholarships, but they are not required for all scholarships. So, you know, it might be through grades, it might be through volunteering, it might be through just writing an essay, but you have to do something, you know, to earn the scholarship. The other word that we hear a lot is bursary, and a bursary is also education funding offered by an organization. But the thing that identifies a bursary is that bursaries are based usually exclusively on demonstrated financial need. So demonstrated financial need might be a component of a scholarship, but it's not usually the main thing. Whereas with a bursary, it is usually the main thing. Bursaries tend to also be lower or smaller pots of money, and scholarships are those bigger pots of money. Now, what they both are is free money. Free money you do not have to pay back. So that's the best kind out there. Today, we're talking about merit-based awards. So we're talking about scholarships. So what are the different kinds of scholarships? The first thing you need to know, and it's just the foundational piece of information, is that all scholarships are different because they are offered by different funders, and it is the funder who determines everything about the scholarship. They determine how much it's for, who it's for, so what are the requirements for it, you know, what is the deadline? All of this stuff is determined by the funder, and they're all different. Now, there are some common things that are, you know, that are common with all scholarships, so that's really what we're going to talk about here today. But the two types of funders that are out there, the two types of organizations that offer scholarships, the first one, of course, is the post-secondary institution itself, the university or college. Colleges now offer scholarships, and you can use a lot of the scholarships that you earn at colleges as well as university. The other type of funder is basically everybody else outside of the university or college, and collectively we call those external funders. So for example, Scotiabank is what we would call an external funder. Banks, foundations, community groups, insurance companies, unions, employers, they're all collectively called external funders. So within these types of funders, they have some different kinds of scholarships. For universities, a lot of universities in Canada offer what are called automatic scholarships. So that means you're automatically considered for them after you apply and submit the appropriate transcript. And that just means they're based completely on your grades and nothing else. They just do a calculation, of your average, and all universities do that, can do that a little bit differently. There's no standardization in the way that they do it, but they come up with a figure, and based on that figure, you may be offered a scholarship. And then many universities will also have scholarships that require a separate application, something that you have to submit, maybe with an activities list, maybe with an essay, and something like that. So those are the two main kinds that are offered by universities. There are more, but those are the main kinds, and those are the kinds that you can actually apply for. There are some other ones that are assigned, but that's the two main kinds. Now, when we get into external funders, there is a huge variety of these ones. And because there is such a huge variety, I'm going to put it on a spectrum for you just so you get an idea of the variety. So on one end of the spectrum, we have one that Damien had mentioned earlier, the Loran Scholarship. This is just an example that I'm using. So the Loran is $100,000. It is a national award. There are several steps that the student must take in order to earn this scholarship. They tend to be for students who are, highly motivated. So that's kind of one end of the spectrum, that kind of, big award, motivated, really highly motivated students and that sort of thing. Then on the other end of the spectrum is my favorite scholarship, and that one is by a hot tub cover manufacturer called the Cover Guy. And with that one, basically all you have to do is write an essay about how hot tubs make our lives better. You do not have to have any volunteer experience. You don't have to have any grades or anything like that. You don't even have to have a hot tub. All you have to do is write about how great it would be to have a hot tub. Okay, so that one is really kind of for anybody when we're really talking about things here. So you can see on this spectrum, there is a wide variety. Now, most of them are somewhere in the middle here, probably. But I just am using that as a way to help you to understand about all of the different kinds of scholarships that are out there. It used to be that scholarships were only for top students. That absolutely was the case at one time, but that is not the case anymore. There's really something out there for all different kinds of students. And I'm going to talk a little bit more when we start talking about finding scholarships that will give you a better idea of what I mean by, a wide variety. But really, there's never been a better time in history for students to win scholarships. So glad you're here because of that. So what is the first thing that you need to know about scholarships? First of all, when are they offered? When should you be looking for scholarships? Well, let me tell you, they open in September of grade 12. And many students are very surprised by that. They're really caught off guard. They happen really quickly, right out of the gate. Now, they're offered throughout the entire year. There's no one time where they're all available, and there's no one deadline where you have to meet a deadline. even though they're offered all year long, the majority are probably between December and May. So right now is your best time ever in history, ever, in grade 12 now. If you're waiting for a better time, it doesn't exist. Now is the time. Okay, so when I talk about how they open and close throughout the whole year, I'm going to put it again on a bit of a spectrum for you, and we'll look at a hypothetical time frame of 5 months. So let's look at the beginning of the first part of the 5-month period. So at that time, there's a scholarship that opens, and then it has a deadline. The deadlines can vary. It might be a couple of weeks, it might be a couple of months, or whatever. But let's just say that one open and closes at the beginning part of the 5-month period. A little bit later, a second one opens, and a third one that overlaps with that one. And then a little later on, there's a fourth one and a fifth one that are kind of opening and closing over that 5-month period. Now, if you are looking for scholarships just at this time in between here, you're not going to find anything. Let's say that you qualify for all 5 of these scholarships. If you're just looking at that one time, you're not going to find anything because one has closed and the other ones haven't opened yet. But wait, if you look again a little bit later in that time frame, you're going to come across 2, right? 2 that are available for you at that time that you can apply for. And then a little bit later on, you look and no, none available there. But then you look again and you find 2 more. So my point here is that this is not a one and done situation. You need to be looking for scholarships throughout the entire year. If you're going to be effective, that is the best strategy to do, because if you're just looking at one time, you're only seeing what's available at that one time. You're not getting the full picture. So you do need to do this regularly over a period of time. The other thing is that, like I say, the scholarships do start early. Let's look at what happened just between September and January of this year. These are just a few of the scholarships that were opening and closing during that time frame. So and there's some of the biggest ones in Canada. They're the Loran, the TD, and the Schulich. I mean, the biggest one is the Schulich. That's $120,000, and there are 50 of those that are available, and there are 50 at $100,000. So the biggest ones in Canada tend to be at the beginning, and then some of the university scholarships are also really early in grade 12 as well. So, deadline for the Loran is usually in October of grade 12. Schulich is not October, but Toronto is October, TD is November, Queen's is early December, really early in the year, okay? So many universities, they're going to have their scholarship deadline before the admission deadline, the early admission deadline. Not all, but some might. So you need to be looking early. You don't have to wait to be accepted, you just have to have applied, okay? And then some scholarships might require a school nomination. Many don't, but some might. So again, my point here is that things start early, so you should be jumping on this as soon as possible. Now, for those students who are in grade 10 and 11, let's think about this. If you are completing applications in October of grade 12, what information are you using on those applications? You're using information from grade 10 and 11, right? Because grade 12 hasn't happened yet. You just started grade 12. So that's why I say, grade 10 and 11 are the times that you should be preparing for scholarships. And then grade 12 is the time that you should actually be writing those applications. So if you're in grade 10 and 11, there's no time machine to go back in time. The time to, start this process and to start to prepare and do the things that you need to do with your marks and with your activities is now. Okay, so where should you be looking for scholarships? Now that we know when you should be looking, where should you be looking? I'm going to cover 4 different areas that are the main ways for you to find scholarships. And we'll start with scholarship search engines. These are, a search engine that are absolutely free for people to access and use. The one that I recommend students start with is scholarshipscanada.com. There are other ones, but this is the one that I recommend you start with. The best way to use these search engines is to actually get matched. So what it will do is it will ask you to create a profile, and you will choose different things, and it will start to match you with scholarships that match your profile. Now, these are not perfect, these search engines, but they're a good place to start to see what's available. And so the student can set up a profile for themselves, or a parent can set up a profile for their student. And that is a great way for parents to be helpful in this process. A lot of times parents want to be able to help, and they can be very helpful. It's not necessary, but they can be helpful. And one of the ways is for the parent to set up that profile, start to get matched, with the scholarships. The parent can review them and then send forward the ones that look most promising to their student, for the student to complete the applications. So I kind of say, when we're talking about finding scholarships, if you have a parent or a supporter who can help you with this, kind of divide and conquer. So divide the places where you're going to look, and that will, maximize your search. So this is a place where parents can be really, really helpful. Other search engines out there, again, work in very similar ways. Okay, the second place that I suggest you look is with your school counselor, and they often will have a website or Google Classroom or something like that. And some scholarships may come directly to your school. Like, not all scholarships are going to be on those search engines. Some of them that are maybe a really local award, might just be a dry cleaner down the street, or, a community group in your community, the Rotary Club or something like that has a scholarship. And so they send it directly to the school because that's where their target market is, right? Those are the people, they're applicants. So some may come directly there. Make sure you're looking. Some schools and school districts have awards. So find out how they are announced in your school, and you should be checking regularly. If the counselor is updating the information, then you should be checking in regularly to see what's new. Okay, of course, the university or college websites, you should be looking at those. Remember to do this early. There are the different kinds. Now, I suggest one of the ways that you can be really strategic with this is to be very organized. And one of the ways that you can be organized is to make a spreadsheet. I love spreadsheets. I give them to my students to collect information. I set them up for them, but you can set them up. You can do this at home. So, just put the name of the school, the application deadline, get the URL and put it right in there so that you have a way to go directly to that information instead of scrambling all over the place trying to look for this stuff. All the university websites are different, they're confusing. So put these URLs right in there, and then you have a direct link, scholarship deadline, if there's a supplemental. So you can create your own spreadsheet of information with those links, and that will make your life much easier because grade 12 is busy and you're going to have a lot to do. Okay, so the next place, of course, is to use some Google searches. So think of those affiliations. In other words, what am I connected with, and would that thing offer a scholarship? So there are different types of affiliations. So it might be your heritage, it might be the field of study, any type of religious group or associations for you or your family, activities, location. So you can do just a Google search using some keywords, and that may produce some results for you. Let's just think about Jane as an example for Jane's affiliations. Let's start with Jane and her employer and her parents' employer, or even with employers and unions, it could even be extended family members. It doesn't have to be direct sometimes. So think about those ones, especially scholarships where you have to be a member of some kind of group, like an employee, or you have a union affiliation with that union, or insurance company or something like that, you have to be a member. That way your applicant pool is restricted, and that's good for you because it means that you have a better chance of getting those types of scholarships. So I suggest you start with these kind, definitely. So a lot of different employers and unions have scholarships for either directly for the employee or for the employee's families. Any type of gender or gender group that you belong to. We heard earlier the Scotiabank for the women and the women's one. So there's that sort of thing. Program participation, junior achievement has scholarships, SHAD, you know, some universities have scholarships for SHAD, Girl Guides have them, 4-H has them. Sports organizations and different service organizations. If you have a disability or a medical issue, so there are scholarships for, you know, students who are blind, who are deaf, who have irritable bowel syndrome. There's all kinds of different ones in that area. Your religion or your church, volunteering, your culture or ethnicity. So there are lots of scholarships available for students of color, or it might just be, you know, if you are of Italian descent or Greek, or if you are a Muslim student, there are scholarships for students in with different affiliations like that. The program that you are entering, so some organizations will offer scholarships for students going into certain programs, or you know, the professional organization, the Nursing Association of Ontario, Professional Engineers of Nova Scotia, or whatever. They can have scholarships, and your insurance company may have a scholarship like Johnson Insurance, they do. So this is what I mean by think of those affiliations and start to check around and see if you have any type of affiliation that might offer a scholarship. So those are the different places to look, but the strategy here, remember I said we're going to not just talk about how, or like how to do it, but like what's the best way. So it's not just about kind of where you look, but you have to look regularly year round in order to have the most effective search. So I suggest that you know, put it in your calendar, like put it in your schedule, because we know if things aren't in our schedule, they don't get done, right? So I suggest you actually put it into your schedule. The student can do this, the parent or supporter can do this, you know, maybe 30 minutes every 2 to 3 weeks, check those results from your profile, and then do some Google searches for your affiliations and so on. And here's the thing. Don't wait for free time, because honestly, who has free time anymore? Nobody has free time. Okay, if you wait for free time, it's never going to happen. So you need to make time to do this, to find the scholarships and then actually to write the application. So, you know, this means prioritizing, you know, this over maybe something else. Okay, and there are 720 hours in a month, so if you can even commit 3 to scholarships, then you'll still have 717 hours to do all of your regular stuff. Okay, so that's, you know, how to find scholarships. Let's move on to the applications and talk about the essay, because that's a big stumbling block. It can be for some students. And, you know, I do a 2.5-hour essay writing workshop, so we're not going to be able to cover all of that stuff, but I'm just going to give you the highlight here. There are common essay themes, even though, remember I said all of the applications are different and everything, but there are things that are common with many of them. There are common essay themes. Now, some of them are, I'm going to tell you what they are. Now, some of them are not these ones, you know, they can be, there are outliers, but these 4 themes come up again and again. I've been doing this for years and I see these themes come up year after year. First one is around a challenge. Tell us about a time you faced a challenge. What was it? How did you deal with it? What did you learn from this situation? Leadership. Tell us a time you were in a leadership role. What skills did you use? What did you learn about leadership from this role? Number 3, volunteering or community involvement. Tell us about your most meaningful volunteer commitment. What was it? Why was it meaningful to you? And what did you learn from this experience? Now, they might be worded differently than this, but this is the basic gist of the questions. The fourth one is about future plans. This one is a little bit different. This is, tell us about your future plans. Why did you choose this, and what makes you think you'll be successful to enter that career area or program or whatever. Okay, so because these are common essay themes, especially these two, the leadership and the volunteer one is probably the biggest. That's probably the most common, is the volunteer, but those ones, the volunteer and leadership, can even be asked sometimes on the same application. They're the most common, I would say. And because these are common, you can actually reuse your content over and over on different applications if they ask a very similar question. Now, you always have to tailor it to the new application, but you don't have to start from scratch. This is your content and you can reuse it again and again. So I suggest if you've applied and you've created this content, keep it, because you may be able to use it later, or you might want to just take the initiative and write, say, 300 words. Tell us about your leadership. Tell us about your volunteer or community involvement. And I will tell you that this is what I teach, using your content over and over again, if you can, if it fits, because it is a great way to save time. And so what you're doing, basically, you're able to apply for more scholarships in less time. And the more you apply for, the more chances you have to win. Okay, 1 application, 1 chance to win, 10 applications, 10 chances to win. And I will tell you, this is how people win multiple scholarships. Okay, so this is a great way to make sure that you're using your time in the most effective way. Okay, fourth thing you need to know, let's talk about more about those essays. What are we going to write on the essays? Well, like I say, they're all different, but the main thing about the essay, there are different pieces to many applications. Now, these pieces aren't on all applications, but let's just say kind of like a full application transcript. So they might have your grades. They might ask you for a list of your extracurricular activities. They might ask for a reference. But when you get to the essay, the purpose of the essay is to get to know you. Okay, so that's your job. That's the objective, is to allow the reader to get to know you. And part of the way that you do that is through discussing yourself and your experiences in a certain way. So many of these types of essay questions are reflective. They ask the student to reflect on a experience and pull out the learning from that experience. So you notice when I went through those common essay themes, what did you do? What did you learn? What happened? What did you learn? That's very common. So you're going to talk about, you're going to reflect on those experiences, do some self-reflection, and demonstrate that self-knowledge. You want to talk about your motivation for getting involved in the things that you do. So we're not just going to give them a grocery list of, I did this and then I did that and then I did this and then I did that, unless that's exactly what they asked for. If that's what they asked for, then fine. But usually what they're looking for is not just what you did, but why you did it. Okay, so you want to talk about your motivation for getting involved in the thing or the things that you've done, that you have. They want to know the impact. In other words, what did you learn from that experience? What changed? How did you develop, you personally, and maybe how did what you do impact others? And then how might you use that learning in the future? And oftentimes we want to focus on how we developed and what we did, how that's going to help others, or how that's going to contribute to our community, my community at Queen's University, my community at wherever, Laurier or whatever. So that is really when you do these things, they talk about tell us your story. Your story is just like your experience. And this is, for most students anyway, this is going to be unique because, you know, your motivation might be different than another student's. What you learned might be different, and then how you intend to use that in the future. So this is a way to make sure that you're giving the funder what it is that they're looking for, and you're highlighting your experience in the best way. Okay, the other thing that you need to know about scholarships are the other benefits of scholarships. So scholarships are not just about money. Now, the money is great, don't get me wrong. Let's talk about the return on investment here of even $1,000. So if you won a $1,000 scholarship, you would have to work about 80 hours in a part-time minimum wage job to make $1,000. So, you know, the return on your investment, it's not guaranteed, obviously, but, you know, if you win, it's a big win. So it's worth putting in some time to do this preparation. Okay, but what are some other benefits of scholarships besides the money? First of all, scholarships beget scholarships. And what I mean by that is that once you win one, it's more likely that you will win more in the future. Okay, it can increase your likelihood of winning more in the future. And that is because scholarships are a credential. They are a mark of success that you put on your record, and that mark of success can help you to, it's impressive, right? It's impressive for people to read this. I've been in the room with the readers, and they are impressed by people who have won previous awards. You know, previous success most likely has future success. So so even a small one, I don't care if it's $50, put it on your record. Usually you don't have to tell how much it is, and then that can be a stepping stone to a bigger one in the future. The other thing is that scholarships also help with other opportunities. Things like co-op positions, some of those can be very, you know, competitive, or a summer job. If it is between you and another person who is very similar to you, and you have a scholarship or two on your record and they don't, that could mean the difference between you getting the interview and not. Okay. The other thing is that if you intend, or you're thinking that maybe in the future you might want to get into some kind of professional program like medicine or law or dentistry or something like that, I can pretty much guarantee that I was looking at an application not long ago, and the application for the positions actually had, after name, address, and contact information, the first section that you had to complete was previous awards and achievements. So I can pretty much guarantee that is going to be on those applications. If you don't have anything to put in that section, you are not going to be as competitive maybe as somebody else who does have something to put in there. So again, mark of success on your record. The other thing is that some scholarships are really nice, and they have mentorship built into them, or networks that you can use, you know, to increase your network, to you know, so that you have people all around the world maybe who you can call on for professional advice, or for jobs, or, you know, for support in other ways. So that's a really nice built-in you know, addition to some scholarships. So scholarships are not just about money. Some of these types of benefits are actually worth a lot more than the money that you win. They can have longer term benefits for you. Now, one last message before I sign off here. I want you to be aware of your negative thoughts. I can pretty much guarantee when you go through this process at least once, maybe several times, you will have self-doubt that bubbles up to the surface. Those are those negative thoughts that come into our head and say, who do you think you are? You'll never win. Why are you doing this? You know, all of that negative self-talk, you know, we all do it to some level or another. But I want you to know that this is completely normal for you to have those self-doubt, those feelings of self-doubt, because you're probably doing something that you've never done before. You're talking about yourself maybe in a way that doesn't make you feel comfortable. There are all kinds of reasons why, but it's absolutely normal. Everybody doubts themselves even the people who have won have doubted themselves, but they didn't let it hold them back. That's the difference. So let's think about, you know, these thoughts that come up. I'm not a top student. I'm not the kind of person, I've never won anything before. It's too competitive. I'll never win, so I'm not even going to bother. So these are common thoughts. I want you to just acknowledge that they're there and push past them. Let's look at this one just quickly to show you why some scholarships might not be as competitive as you think. Now, some of them are very competitive. I'm not going to lie to you, but some of them might not be nearly as competitive as what you think. So let's look at this. And if you're thinking it's too competitive, I'll never win, so I'm not even going to bother, how many other people are thinking that way too? And they're not going to apply. So there's part of your competition that's wiped out right there. Okay, so if you go ahead and apply, you are further ahead than that group. Now, some awards are not advertised well and they have few applications. And we hear about this thing about millions of dollars in unused scholarships. And I can't tell you, you know, with any proof or anything like that, that's true. But I will tell you that I have been contacted by organizations to ask me to help them to advertise their scholarships because it's like a week away from the deadline and they have no applications at all. So I think that there is definitely some truth in this. You know, some of these organizations, they don't have huge advertising budgets. Like I say, they just have $1,000 to give away. So they send the application to the school. So, you know, just think about that when you are thinking about the competition. Now, many students, they intend to apply, but they most don't. Okay, so a lot of people in life have great intentions, but not a lot of people have great follow through. So if you follow through, then you're way ahead of the game again. Now, here's one that not a lot of people think about. Some people are going to apply, but they will be disqualified because they didn't follow the directions. And this happens a lot more than what you think. So you need to be very careful when you apply that you follow all the rules. But yeah, so there's going to be a lot of people who are going to apply and be disqualified. But this can work in your favor too, because sometimes really good applicants will be disqualified. And so you could actually win the award and you weren't even the best applicant. But if the best applicants have been disqualified, then you might get it. So, and it happens a lot. So that's another reason why it might not be as competitive as what you think. So my advice is just to go ahead and apply. Okay, so you're going to have self-doubt. It's normal. Just acknowledge it. Just acknowledge it. It's there. It's normal, and move on and make those applications. Okay, so here's a review. Grade 12 is your best opportunity to win scholarships, and right now is the best of the best. Okay. Never been a better time to win scholarships. They're offered all year long, so remember to search regularly. There's no single place to find them. There's no single time. That's what, you know, can make it a little bit time consuming, but there are ways to make it more effective, your search more effective. Don't wait for free time. You need to make time. There are benefits to scholarships that can be more valuable than the money, and it's normal to doubt yourself. So let's just push past it and take that action. Okay, so that was our strategy talk, and that was hopefully my motivational message to go forth and apply, apply, apply. That's my battle cry to you. And you know, I've had students, these are just a few of the, you know, comments that I've received from people who I've worked with, but the common thing with all of these people is that they applied. Okay, so there's no other factor, I guess you would say, that's common with all of them other than, you know, they made those applications. They went out there and applied. Okay, so this is my snip of my website. I want you to know that I have a blog with lots of great free information. I have some free resources that you can access, grade 12 one, a grade 11 one. And then I have some services as well. So I do grade 11 prep boot camps. I'm actually doing those right now. I have one coming up on February 12th. So if you're in grade 10 or 11 and you want to know what should I be doing right now so that I can capitalize on these scholarships in grade 12, I will tell you in this boot camp, and you will actually start to create that stuff. I also have grade 12 scholarship essay writing workshops, and I work one-to-one with students to discuss their strategy for preparing and for actually making those applications. Okay, so that's my spiel. Thank you very much, and I wish you the best. And I don't know, do we have time for questions, Damien?
Oh, we do.
Oh, good.
And if Janet, if you want, you can share screen again, just leave it up on your website so that it gets ingrained in people's eyes. It's your call, but we definitely have questions. So some people threw them in the Q&A, much appreciated. Some people threw them in the chat, so I will try to bounce back and forth. But I do want to drill down on one thing that Janet said right at the end, which is like the thing that they all had in common was they actually hit submit. They actually took action, right? The concept of just have a bias towards action. We're all Canadian here, so we probably heard the Wayne Gretzky, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? So step number one, just get it in. Done is better than perfect, guys.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna try going through some of these, and let's see what we got. I think you tackled this one during Janet about, so Nicholas asked, do you need to be accepted first before applying to the college or uni scholarships?
Usually you don't have to be accepted first, no, but you do have to be acceptable, obviously. Like you do have to eventually be accepted. But for example, with the Queen's Major Admission Awards, the deadline is usually early December, but the deadline to apply isn't even until usually about mid-January. So you have to make the application, you have to apply, send in your grades and all of that. So you have to start the application process, but you do not usually have to wait to be accepted in order to apply for the scholarships. They can't accept you before you apply. So you need to make sure that you understand the process. And I would say, definitely apply, find out the deadlines, but definitely think to yourself, I don't have to wait to be accepted. I just have to apply and then make the scholarship application.
Okay, cool, that makes sense. I know one of the things you do to help the students you work with a lot, Jane, is around kind of the actual scholarship piece of it. So we had a question from Hashir, who's asking if there's any way to know kind of what the funder wants the essay to be structured in terms of. So they have some questions about structure, like is there any way to know, to have a better sense of what an individual organization or group is looking for? Or maybe just better way to ask that question is, the students are going to be writing a lot of essays. You talked about repurposing content. Mm-hmm. Like what should they start with when they're thinking of these essays?
Right. Okay. So one of the first thing you should do before you start writing is research the funder. Who are they? What's important to them? Their values and that sort of thing. So they will usually have that somewhere on their website, or you can usually find that out. The other thing is that you need to read the directions very carefully. Sometimes they will tell you, this is what we want, no bullet points. They might have a rubric where they tell you what they're going to, evaluate you on. So read those directions very carefully, and then you can start writing. Usually they're just looking for a regular essay. A lot of times with that, with the self-reflective essay, you can use the STAR method, the situation, task, action, result method. But one of the things that I think it's really important to do is to create that great opening and some kind of ending that kind of is positive and forward thinking. So the creative opening, it doesn't have to be like super creative, just not boring. Okay. I have read like 50 essays, one after the other. And if you lose me on the first paragraph, like I'm asleep, that's not good. You want to hook me, and then get into the story. So, you know, there are different ways that you can do that, but really they're usually just looking for a regular, you know, essay, opening, body, conclusion, with those things highlighted that I said before, the motivation, the learning, how you're going to use that thing to contribute to your community in the future.
That makes complete sense. I'm gonna repost the link to that top ranked university tips webinar that I talked about at the start of this, just because one of the key concepts in that conversation with the alumni who are at those schools to talk about the importance of narrative as well in your essay, like to have a general theme, not just like I did this, I did this, I did this. Because to Janet's point, it's going to look the exact same as everybody else. It's going to be super boring. So it's like, how can you tell a story or a specific theme? Right?
Yeah, or just think about, what is it that I want them to know about me?
Right.
What are my values? Like, what value is really important to me that I want them to know? My, you know, one of my values is, you know, or one of the things I do is I take initiative. Okay, so then just tell us where are the different areas that you took initiative. Just, you know, think about that kind of thing. What's the message I want them to know when they put down this application? What is it I want them to know about me? Not 10 things, 2 things, okay? 2 main things that you back up with evidence, your experiences.
Yeah. You can't be everything to everyone, right? So here's a couple of rapid fires. I can answer actually one of them. Brahmana asked about covering the My Blueprint scholarships in the session. We did that at the very start. I'm going to put the link in again to the site that has more information about it, and reach out to My Blueprint and if you have any questions. But then for you, Janet, this is the rapid fire. I know you talked about it earlier, but some students missed it. What were some of those scholarship search engines that you talked about before?
Okay, so scholarshipscanada.com, that's a very comprehensive one. So that's literally scholarshipscanada.com. The other one, studentawards.com. There, if you have a disability, there's disabilityawards.ca, I believe it is. And scholartree.ca. Yeah, so you can even just Google search engines, scholarship search engines, just make sure that they're Canadian, because there are some American ones that might come up.
Okay, this one, I don't think it's not super obvious, but it's an important question. Let's say I win a scholarship. What happens? Do I get the money?
That's a good question. Okay, so remember where I said everything is determined by the funder? The funder will let you know, and it's usually in the small print, you know, of the application. They will tell you how the money will be dispersed to you. Normally what happens is the money is, you send them information about where you have registered in the fall, and they will submit the money directly to your student account at your post-secondary institution. And so it'll come off your tuition first usually, and then if there's any left over, maybe your residence or whatever. Works a lot of different ways. Rare that they will just cut you a check and you can use it however you want, but some do. So my son won $1,000 and he was able to just use it however he wanted to. I made him put it in the bank, of course. But yeah, it's up to the funder. Now, one of the things, though, that I want you to know that is a good differentiator, I guess you would say, if you win a scholarship from the post-secondary institution, it's only available if you attend that post-secondary institution. But normally, with many of those external funders, that is an award that you win personally, and that means that you can use it wherever you go. So it's usually it goes with you wherever you go. So that can be a benefit of the external funder, because winning those awards, because you're not locked into going to that institution. You take it wherever you go.
Makes sense. A lot of the other questions here are questions that kind of have been answered so far or are very similar. Yes, the last question that we just saw is like, is it advisable to be yourself? Yes, that is a life tip. Always be yourself, be authentic. So I'm going to wrap up, Jen. I want to be respectful of your time and everyone's time. We promised already to be an hour here. I'm going to put you on the spot with two last questions. One, have you ever talked to anybody at the hot tub company? Like I feel like
I
a
haven't.
partnership. No?
I haven't. It's just the perfect
Yeah.
example of like I say, you don't even have to own a hot tub. Like just it's just your imagination, and it's, you know, it allows you to be funny, creative. It's perfect.
Yeah. And speaking of that, of your imagination and kind of following your curiosity, when these guys leave this webinar and they're super motivated to go off and find these scholarships and put their bias towards action in place and start applying, what's just one last, aside from visiting your website and checking out the amazing and free resources that My Campus GPS offers, what's one last tip that you can leave these hungry students and parents and educators with today?
Well, you know, I guess it's that sort of the opportunity cost thing. Like every time we say yes to one thing, we say no to something else. So, you know, let's make sure that we're saying yes to the things that are going to be important for us and be meaningful for us and use our time in the best way and that sort of thing. So I just, you know, when we think about things in that way, of course, your health is always the most important thing, your physical and mental health, and your grades next. Okay, you want to make sure, but then, like, how am I using my time in the best way that's going to have the biggest impact on me? And for some students, that will be pursuing scholarships.
I love it. Janet, thank you again so much. Guys, one last time in the chat, it's mycampusGPS.ca. Check it out. Apply, work smarter, not harder. Use the tips that Janet shared with you today. And good luck, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Thank you to the My Blueprint team for organizing. Thank you to Scotiabank for supporting students with the resources they need to attend post-secondary. And thank you to everyone who made time to come out today. I'm getting a lovely wave from my friend in our co-working space telling me to wrap it up. So with that, everybody, good luck. And
Thanks, everybody. Yeah, have a great night. Bye.